Welcome into the Hard Count. It is Tuesday, July 8th, 2025. Hope you had a fantastic 4th of July weekend, and I hope that you're watching this episode of the Hard Count or you're listening to this via podcast coming off of a smooth all-nighter after playing college football 26. Haven't got our hands on the game just yet at the time of this recording, but we will, in fact, do that here shortly, and we will give you our thoughts on that game here in the not-too-distant future. But glad to have you all a part of this. All the usual stuff at the top of this thing, okay? Make sure you're subscribed, follow on the socials, Instagram, Twitter, at PicKell, all that stuff, because we are about to jump headfirst into full sprint mode season. If you've been following this show, you know typically this is a 3-time-a-week full episode kind of operation. Don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but it's going to happen here sooner rather than later. So we got a lot to jump into, but let's start here. Who has the most potential in college football? Pose that question on the socials. Ask for your input on this. Now, there was no parameters to this conversation around who has the most potential in college football. So it could be players, it could be a unit, it could be a team. But for me, the player that has the most potential in college football to get this thing started, y'all that watch the show, you know I have a special place in my heart for number 16 over there in Columbia, South Carolina. Number 16 on the field, number 1 in my heart, man, don't make it weird. He has everything that you cannot coach when it comes to playing quarterback at the highest level of college football in a one LaNorris Sellers, all right? Like, I think when you talk about him, the way in which that discussion flows tells you everything you need to know about how good he can be at South Carolina this year. You say, well, hey, if he could just clean some things up in the pass game, he's going to, there's no ceiling for the guy, right? Because when he tucks in and runs, nobody questions that part of his game. When he does that, he's straight up an Avenger, okay? Go back and watch the Clemson game. Go back and watch the A&M game. Like, as the season progressed, he got stronger. He got better for South Carolina. But, again, people say, well, if he can just clean some things up in the pass game. Notice, they don't say, if he could just prove that he could beat you as a passer. That's not what they're saying. They're saying, can he clean some things up, be more consistent, and make some of those throws that you need to make downfield a little bit more frequently? Now, why is that important? If you were saying he needs to prove he can do it, that would mean he hasn't done it yet. Anyone that says he's just a running back playing quarterback or that he's Anthony Richardson 2.0, they haven't actually watched the dude play. If they're telling you that, go tell them to watch the Missouri game where he went for 3.5 bills and 5 touchdowns. Go tell them to watch the Illinois game where, yeah, he missed some passes, still north of 70% completion percentage. During the month of November onward, he had one game under 70% completion percentage, and in that game he threw for right around 61%. So LaNorris Sellers, if he can, again, clean some things up in the pass game and continue doing what he did a year ago in the run game, I don't know what it was, bro. Superman took off the glasses and he became Superman. LaNorris Sellers took off the rec specs and became, I think, one of the best players in college football. I think he will be the best player in college football this year, not named Jeremiah Smith. Full mic drop. Bryce Underwood. Potential coming out his ears, dude. Like, this is a big statement, so just roll with me here. There's a very real possibility that he is the most talented quarterback Michigan has ever had in the modern era. Notice, I said talented, not best, not necessarily going to be the best. We'll see what happens there, but from a pure skill set perspective, y'all that have a Twitter account or an Instagram account, you've seen this dude throwing down backflips, which we say a lot, but when you're 225 pounds and 6'3", 6'4", that's a pretty ridiculous feat, much less to be a quarterback that runs like a 4.5 40. The dude's physically gifted, right? There's no denying that. The question we all have now is, well, when does he figure out how to channel that horsepower to play quarterback in college football? Because he's been on campus all of like 17 minutes, just got a student ID, figured out where he likes to eat in Ann Arbor. So he's figuring some of those things out when it comes to college life and being a college quarterback in general. But if he has that light bulb come on week 2 at Oklahoma, how good is Michigan going to be? Like, if Bryce Underwood plays to his potential of his physical giftings, which is a massive if and something we should give him some runway on, Michigan is going to be a college football playoff team. The defense is electric. I think the skill players, they've done a lot on the perimeter to try and elevate and help him. Still a question mark, but if your quarterback's taking over the game, then you're in a much better spot there to be successful. I love the running back room. I love Sharon Moore. I love the culture, all those things. If Bryce Underwood, again, translates to how good he can be potential-wise, all bets are off. Now, I didn't want to have this conversation around Arch Manning because it's so on the nose, dude. And honestly, we're entering into this part of the year where I promise you, come SEC Media Days, whether Arch Manning is there or not, because at the time of us recording this, there's been no announcement as to who Texas is taking. But there's going to be a lot of Arch Manning fatigue for everyone, I think, consuming content in digital media, so I want to be leery of that. But, what do you want me to do, bro? He's a 5-star quarterback playing a Steve Sarkisian system. His last name's Manning, which comes with the Manning pedigree. He sat for 2 years. He's learned the playbook. He now has finally, I think, managed to keep his ID in his wallet, contrary to maybe some learning mistakes on the fly for our guy early in his college career. There's no way around this. He's the difference between Texas being a team that makes the college football playoff, maybe plays in the semis again, and then wins a national championship. That is the difference that Arch Manning potentially brings for you. Big statements, but this is just the reality. Potential is a very interesting word in modern college football right now because it means you haven't done it just yet. But when it comes to what Arch Manning can be and what he can mean for Texas, potential is the only, I think, suitable word for number 16 in the burnt orange. Now, I told you at the top of this thing, we were going to use the word potential with no real parameters as to who it could apply to. The Big 12 has massive potential in the landscape of college football. I'll take it a step further. I think they have tremendous party crasher potential when it comes to the college football playoff picture. You look across college football, and quarterbacks are, moving teams like you move apartments every single year. The lease is up, go somewhere else. Not in the Big 12. They have, count them, 8 returning starting quarterbacks in that conference here next season. Is it that ridiculous to think that 1 or 2 of those guys could catch fire and make their team in itself a juggernaut? What if Sam Leavitt does what he did last season against Texas, and that carries over to this upcoming season, and ASU, without Cam Scadaboo, no boo, no problems, much like y'all on Valentine's Day, and they just keep rolling. Kanye Udo picks up where Cam Scadaboo left off, and Arizona State finds their way into the college football playoff as an at-large bid because they didn't win the Big 12 for whatever reason. I don't know how it shakes out, but do you really want to see them the first round of the college football playoff with a quarterback who has college football playoff experience? Or Baylor and Sawyer Robertson. All the production they have back on offense. And the stoic Dave Aranda on the sideline, a guy who's won a Big 12 title. Or Avery Johnson in Kansas State. There's a lot of quarterbacks now that if you catch them in the first round of the college football playoff, that would be a situation where, outside of Sam Leavitt, it would be new territory for them. But I think the veteran presence at quarterback versus whoever you have, a lot of new starting quarterbacks across college football, I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't feel great about that. I'll say that much. Roster-wise, who knows how they stack up, but quarterback-wise, the experience factor could be a massive differentiator for them. Also, is it that unrealistic, like I just said, to assume that you could get 2 teams from the Big 12 into the college football playoff? We would have seen it in the 2022 season where TCU made the college football playoff after losing the Big 12 title game. It just takes one team to go on a run, get hot, play well in the regular season, and another team to win the Big 12, and then all bets are off at that point in time. You have 2 teams in from that conference. So party crash potential based on the quarterback position for the Big 12, through the roof. Now, a couple of teams here. Penn State, they just got that vibe to them this year that it's about the national championship. How Ohio State last year was probably breaking it down on natty or bust, or the year before for Michigan, natty or bust. It's kind of the feel for Penn State. You went out and got Jim Knowles. You kept Drew Allard. You kept your backfield. You kept Denai Dennis Sutton. It's all there. And I don't want to say that it is national championship now or never for Penn State because I think that's inappropriate with the nature of the Big Ten Conference and the way the playoff is evolving and how good a coach James Franklin is, contrary to some of the jokes on social media. But I don't know there's going to be a better window for Penn State than this season in the foreseeable future. That's just how I feel about it. So Penn State, with all they've done to, again, circle the wagons and make a push for this year, across the conference too, new quarterbacks at Michigan, Oregon, and Ohio State. Penn State, the floor is yours, man. I still have been very vocal. I want to see it before I believe it, but if there's a time to see it, this feels like the year with where Penn State at's roster-wise and where they're at experience-wise and where the rest of the conference is with just some of the things you're figuring out at quarterback across the conference. So Penn State, potential through the roof. I think they're a national title contender without a doubt. LSU, I've been very vocal about this as well. I don't see any holes. If you're going to tell me LSU can't win a national championship, I'm going to need you to make a very strong case as to why not. And if your first case is Brian Kelly being a bad football coach, I'm going to send you right out the door, man. Dude's won 70% of his games and coached over 20 years in college football. I don't think he's the problem. Now, situationally, would you like to see different things from Brian Kelly? Would you like to see his team maybe a little bit more dialed in certain moments? Sure. But like outside of that argument, I don't believe that Brian Kelly is the issue for LSU here going into 2025. Going back to last year, too, look at the games that LSU lost. There were games, or moments, I should say, where LSU was just like not present, right? Like second half against A&M. Marcel Reed subs into the game. LSU can't adjust, lose the football game. Against Alabama, I don't even think LSU got off the bus. Home game, Baton Rouge, and Jalen Moto just scored another touchdown. Like the game against Florida, LSU should not be losing to Florida with what that roster was versus what Florida was. And that's not saying anything less of Florida. I'm just telling you, I think it was a lot of eye off the ball moments for LSU a season ago, which maybe you point to Brian Kelly and say that's on you. And that's not an unfair thing to say, but I think going into next season with Nussmeier back, with what they did via the portal, with another year under Brian Kelly's culture and system, like, to me, everything is shaping up for them to go be a team that competes for, and I think potentially wins a national championship. They have that kind of potential. Last one I want to hit on here, A&M as a team, a lot of potential. Their backfield, I don't think they get talked about nearly enough nationally. Le'Veon Moss is the best running back that averaged 6 yards a carry last year before he got hurt, that is getting 0 love in the preseason. And that's fine, but I'm just saying, I think you probably bet Tennessee in Vegas to lead the conference in rushing based on how they've run the ball the last couple of years. But if you're not betting Tennessee, I might bet A&M to lead the conference in rushing. Like Marcel Reed now having the offense built to his skill set, which it wasn't this time last year. It was built for Connor Wegman. They kind of adjusted it on the fly. Colin Klein, who was a mobile quarterback when he played, so he's calling plays for his own skill set in a one Marcel Reed. Oh, by the way, you got Reuben Owens, who missed all of last year for the most part until the end of the season with a knee injury, I believe it was. He's back in the fold. Like there's a lot of talent in that backfield. There's a lot, I think, for A&M to be excited about. And if that backfield's humming, the domino effect of, well, then stuff opens up downfield for Casey Concepcion, for Terry Bussey. Like there's a lot there that would, I think, flow from that. If you can run the football in the SEC, you're going to be okay, along with what else A&M has on that roster. So A&M's backfield with Le'Veon Moss, Marcel Reed, Reuben Owens, it's teeming with potential for 2025. So those are the individuals and teams and position groups, I suppose you could say, with the most potential in college football. It's so fun we actually get to start talking about the games and the football itself that's about to be played. I want us to take a very early look at some of the most important, high-intensity, high-impact games for college football in 2025, but I want to stick to that caveat. Let's go pre-October, most high-impact, important games, and we'll just kind of go chronological order here. But, man, you look over every single weekend, man, and I've been very anti-conference realignment, but conference realignment has given us some bangers week in and week out here, man. Now, a game that we don't have conference realignment to thank for the juice that it's going to bring here, but a great game nonetheless. Texas at Ohio State is just a massive game for both teams when it comes to charting their course for the rest of the season. We all understand this. We've said this a lot. Ohio State loses this game, Texas State loses this game, nobody here is saying they missed the college football playoff. In fact, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody with an expert credential in this space that picks either one of those teams to miss the 12-team dance. However, where you sit on the plane for your travels matters. Okay, now the loser of this game probably go find yourself in coach. The winner, though, is in first class. Like Ohio State, you beat Texas, there's probably not a tougher matchup on your schedule the rest of the way. Same deal for Texas. You beat the defending national champions. Yeah, you still got to play Georgia. It's not going to be easy the rest of your SEC schedule. You got to play A&M, who I just waxed poetic about their backfield. But, like, we understand if you beat Ohio State, you have your extra mulligan in the bag. You feel great confidence-wise, and you're probably sitting first class the rest of the way to the college football playoff. Now, in a similar fashion, LSU at Clemson, week 1 is going to be a movie. I mean, the battle of quarterbacks with Klubnik and Nuss. The impact on vibes for this one, it cannot be overstated. Like for LSU, if you lose another opener, like God bless the people in Baton Rouge, you are probably saying prayers that you don't lose another opener. It would be, I think, number 6 in a row. It'd be another loss under Brian Kelly, who's never won an opener as the head coach at LSU. If you lose another opener, we saw Brian Kelly, slam the fist down in Vegas when they lost to USC. He might full on just elbow through the whole thing and break that chair, or break that table, I should say, in the media session. Cannot lose another opener. Cannot have it. Cannot have it. The vibes would be just terrible. I'm trying to find the right word to even use to address the vibes for LSU if they lose another opener because of all that's built into this season for LSU with what you did via the portal, with your quarterback back. I'm getting worked up talking about it. All right, but for Clemson, I think the optics would just be a bit funny if you lost to LSU. Because if you lose to LSU in your first game, I actually have Clemson still making the college football playoff and losing this game. Quick spoiler alert there. But remember the narrative around Clemson after they lost to Georgia last year? Now, to be fair, they didn't just lose. They got dog-walked by Georgia. But the narrative for every Selection Tuesday, playoff ranking Tuesday was, well, does Clemson have the chops? Hey, are we not worried about Clemson if we got them in the playoff and they had to play Georgia again? Or do they play, insert whatever big dog in college football into that sentence next? The question around their chops, I think, would be something they'd have a hard time shaking just by nature of what their schedule has on it the rest of the way. There is no Miami on the schedule, okay? There is no other big non-conference game that I'm seeing here on the schedule for Clemson. So massive for vibes, massive for optics. It'll be awesome either way. And spoiler alert, have both probably making the college football playoff, but big for vibes. Week 2, Michigan at Oklahoma. There's a great Lupe Fiasco song called Superstar. If you are who you say you are. You know what I'm saying? If you are who you say you are, John Mateer, if you are who you say you are, you go find a way at home. Sharon Moore coming back to normal. You'll find a way in this game, man. And I know that's a little bit general to say at this point in the year before we've even had our first college football game played, but like John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle and all they've done in the portal with Jaden Ott now added to this offense, like if you are going to be a force in the college football landscape, this is a game that you go win. You'll find a way to get it done. And it doesn't matter for the SEC. It's a non-conference game, but just like for the momentum of your season, you go find a way. Same deal for Michigan. And not even talking about Bryce Underwood. It'll be his first road start, and you want to see him look good, of course, and he'll play a massive factor for Michigan in this game. There's no way around that. But Michigan, what have we said all offseason long? Defense is so good, it'll give Bryce Underwood time. Really? Okay, because you'll have your work cut out for you. You will have your work cut out for you. That's not me making a pick on this game. I'm just saying, for Michigan, if you are who you say you are, then you go hold that Oklahoma offense to like 17 points, 10 points, whatever it is, and allow Bryce Underwood some cushion to where, hey, Bryce, this drive, the best spot here for us might be to just throw it away, punt it away, live another down, flip the field. We can win that way. All right, so that game's going to be awesome. I cannot wait for that one. Now, week 3, A&M at Notre Dame. Remember, they played last year in South Bend. Notre Dame won that football game. In College Station. They played this game this year in South Bend. This could kind of be very quietly a little pseudo playoff game, week 3. For the folks out there in South Bend, because Notre Dame, they open at Miami. If you drop that game, 10-2 Notre Dame, I think you still have a chance to make the playoff, but you do not sleep well at night knowing that you have 2 losses on your resume if you drop to Miami and drop to A&M. Like, those are also your 2 best talent tests. What's the committee supposed to do if you got losses to Miami and A&M, and you're sitting there on Selection Sunday with no college football, with no conference title to your name because you don't play in a conference? Like, I'm just saying, this could have massive playoff stakes for Notre Dame to if they, let's just say again, put yourself in this world. If you lose to Miami, you have 1 loss coming in. If you can beat A&M, you feel a lot better about your college football playoff hopes being controlled by yourself. For A&M, kind of the same thought process. Not so much that you have to win this game to keep your playoff hopes alive, but if you lose this game, you have to make sure you don't lose 2 of any of these. Auburn, Florida, at LSU, South Carolina, at Texas. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm just saying to already have a loss in the schedule and to only have 1 more mulligan, hypothetically, to go 10-2 and make the playoff. Like, 9-3, we've seen, probably not going to get you in the 12-team dance. And I think for A&M, that's probably how you would feel going into that game. So that'll be massive for both sides of that thing. Week 4, Arizona State at Baylor. Just kind of feel like the smirking emoji a little bit here. I think this is going to tell us who the leader of the pack is in the Big 12. 2 returning quarterbacks. For me personally, probably the 2 quarterbacks I'd put at the top of the power rankings right now for the Big 12 Conference with Sawyer Robertson and Sam Leavitt. I'll just say this. We may see this game more than once. Might see it once in McLean. Might see it once in Jerry World for all the marbles in the Big 12 Conference. Just a thought. A couple of Week 5 bangers. Oregon at Penn State. I said the same thing for Penn State a second ago. Like, it feels like this is the year where you got to go get it done. It's all teed up. New quarterback and Dante Moore coming into your place. The good folks at Fox or ESPN, whatever the game, I think it was NBC actually. Whoever controls the TV stuff finally heard you. You got a whiteout game for this one. It's all teed up. If you can't go get it done in this spot against that team, oh boy. Oh boy. And then for Oregon, this is your only true roster test, right? No Ohio State on the schedule. Like, this is kind of your I don't want to say one-game season because that's not fair to say in the world of college football with how crazy this game is. But, like, if you can beat Penn State, there's no tougher roster test. Dan Lanning just has to keep the train on the tracks, and Dante Moore's got to do his thing. And, like, they're going to be a team that waltzes their way into the college football playoff yet again. So that game's going to be massive, massive pressure for both sides of that thing. And the last Week 5 game I want to talk about here, the last pre-October high-impact game for us, Alabama at Georgia, DeBoer versus Kirby Smart round 2. Think about this for a second. What if we're sitting here on our Sunday sprint reacting to Bama beating Georgia and say, don't look now, Kalen DeBoer is 2-0 versus the best coach currently in college football? Think about that. That would be a crazy world to live in, but everyone talking about the approval rating for DeBoer at the end of last season, missed the playoff, go 9-3, lose to Oklahoma, going 2-0 against Kirby Smart wouldn't hurt the approval rating. I think it would also speak volumes to the kind of just X&O savant that DeBoer is, paired up with Ryan Grubb. That'd be a storyline and a half, dude. Now for Georgia, you kind of got to feel a little bit if you're a Georgia fan, like, hey, there's no shot Kirby gets got by the same guy twice, right? At home. And I don't think you're wrong for having that feeling. But if you can beat Bama with how talented that defense is, and your first-year starting quarterback in Gunnar Stockton, you got to feel pretty good about your odds the rest of the way. Now, you still play Texas, still play Florida, but, like, I don't think you're playing a defense that's going to be that much more difficult than Alabama. You're not playing, I don't think, I guess you talk about Steve Sarkisian as being a elite X&O guy, and same thing with Kiffin, but, like, Kalen DeBoer is a pretty good sample size as to how you're going to react defensively to guys like that. So it's big for season flow, I think, for both sides, but the storylines coming out of that one, as they were last game when these two teams met a season ago, will also be massive. So a lot of big games on the sleigh. College football is so back. We are so back. We're talking about those games that are going to happen here in a matter of months. Less than 100 days. Less than 100 days, we'll get all of those games, and I can't wait for it. All right? Now, if you're tuned in to the Rivals Recruiting Channel, the Rivals YouTube channel that covers recruiting, the best in the business, then you've been dialed into what happened over 4th of July weekend. We already knew Hayes Fawcett was going to be putting in work, and he did on the Photoshop, as he always does every single July and 4th of July. But it was a couple of different logos you saw popping up on the old Hayes Fawcett graphics. You got guys like Calvin Russell, 5-star wide receiver. He's going to Michigan? Going to Oregon? No, goes to Syracuse. Highest rated recruit for them in 20 years. Felix Ojo, all the smoke around Texas, top player in the state of Texas. Then 4th of July Eve, you're getting the glizzies in the fridge, getting the barbecue all marinated up, and you see that Steve Wiltfong RPM prediction drop. Whoa, Texas Tech? For a 5-star offensive tackle, what's going on here? Ends up committing to Texas Tech. Highest commitment for them rating-wise ever. Xavier McDonald, 4-star wide receiver. Ole Miss, LSU, Chapel Bill, we'll see. No, Sac State, baby. Stand up. Brendan Marion, the go-go offense. So I think when you had the dust settle on your 4th of July weekend, you had different individuals of those different star ratings not committing to the standard blue bloods, or maybe taking the biggest logo they had offered to them. It smells very NIL-ish, right? And I don't know exactly the dollar amount that these guys are potentially getting from their respective schools from a Calvin Russell or Xavier McDonald. It was reported for Felix Ojo he was getting a guaranteed $5.1 million over 3 years. Okay, so that one we can, I think, pretty fairly assume NIL played a factor in it. But I want us to just understand where we are right now in modern college football. NIL, like I just said, is making wins like this for I'm assuming Sac State has something they're working with to land a 4-star wide receiver, assuming the same thing for Syracuse. It's making wins like this more possible. It's a massive part of it. I don't think it's the whole part of this. The reason why I think, I'm assuming how I'm reading this, the reason why I think these individuals, and a Felix Ojo and a Calvin Russell, are ending up at the schools they're ending up at commitment-wise, is the combo of, yes, NIL juice, plus a coach that you can buy into and you believe in, and you can buy in on their vision. Like I said it on my Instagram story or my Instagram page, if y'all were tuned in over the holidays, at JD PicKell. Felix Ojo, I have to believe money played a factor, but if you just got Joey McGuire in the room with any of these guys and across the country when it comes to high-profile prospects, I'm going to feel like Texas Tech has a chance. Like, Joey McGuire is one of the most personable, authentic, genuine individuals, just a likable dude. And what he's doing at Texas Tech, paired with the NIL juice, it's a lethal combo. Same thing with Fran Brown at Syracuse. We had him on the show. We wanted to talk for 10 minutes, ended up going 25 minutes on the interview. The dude is just as real as it gets. And so if you're telling me I can believe in my head coach and their vision, and I'm confident in where this thing is headed, plus I can make a little money in addition to doing that and not have to sacrifice that part of it, okay, like, I think I'm in a position, if I'm one of those guys, to at least toy with the idea of why not go be part of something that's just getting rolling. Go be the first. Go get on the new wave. I think that's attractive to everyone just in general. Like, there was a point where Tesla, when it had it was still fairly new, was outselling BMW. And this is at a point in time where I think Tesla was still like a relatively expensive car to buy. Why? Because Tesla's the new thing, the exciting thing. It's the new wave. We know what BMW is. We know what the blue bloods are. But, like, it's kind of fun to be on the cutting edge of something. And I think that's playing some small part here, in addition to the NIL and the juice when it comes to who your coach is. I think all those things combined is making this more and more of a just interesting world in the world of college football recruiting. Now, what this actually means for the landscape of college football is going to be seen, I think, over the course of the next couple of years. Because the true disruptors in the space that are going to rise up and be part of this, routine college football playoff field are the teams that stack these kind of commitments. Like, if Texas Tech goes out and finishes with the top 10 class, top 15 class, whatever, and then next year another top 10 class, and then next year another 5-star, college football is still a team game. So when you look at recruiting, the wins are massive in and of themselves, assuming they all sign, but it becomes even more impactful when you start to stack those classes and you look at these rosters and say, oh, wow, hey, Texas Tech got a top 25 roster in college football, top 15 roster in college football. And especially now in the way the playoff is set up with auto bids, like, Texas Tech just has to be the best in the Big 12. Syracuse has got to be the best in the ACC, or at least be in position talent-wise to capitalize on that. So it's very, very unique 4th of July weekend, but I just think those commitments and the way this weekend went on the recruiting trail tells us a lot about the direction of college football. And as these schools are routine Hayes Fawcett graphic offenders, at that point in time, then I think you'll start to see a little bit more substantial moves in the world of college football. But like I said, Felix Ojo, all the smoke was at one point in time, for him at least, around Texas. Hey, he's top player in the state of Texas, a lot of smoke around him going to Texas, and then he ends up going to Texas Tech. So him going to Texas Tech is one part of the story. But I want to speak right now to the Texas fans that are maybe feeling some kind of way about how you are on the recruiting trail. Because at the time I was recording this, Texas is on the outside looking in of the top 10 when it comes to the industry team recruiting rankings. I am never going to tell you it's a good thing to miss on a 5-star recruit. We'll never tell you that. I would also say NIL works both ways. I sat here a year ago, I guess a year and some change ago, last signing day, and Justice Terry, everyone's like, he's going to Georgia, ends up going to Texas. And we talked to Chad Simmons during National Signing Day, and we go, Chad, how'd this happen? He goes, man, Texas had a better NIL package. Cool. NIL works both ways. So assuming now, and I don't think this was the only factor, but assuming it came down to money for Texas and Texas Tech, and Texas wouldn't pay for what Felix Ojo got from Texas Tech, assuming that's the case, what does that tell you about how Steve Sarkisian feels about his offensive line, or feels about his opportunity to go add what he needs to add on the offensive line and be successful there for the long term? Because I think my thing I would say to Texas fans is, for better or worse, I trust Steve Sarkisian. Why? Because he's earned it. Like, maybe I wouldn't feel this way if Texas was just now entering the SEC and they were 8-4 a year ago and they weren't really the toughest football team. That's not the case. Texas last year had 12 players drafted, 3 on the offensive line, 1 in the top 10. Played for an SEC title their first year in the conference. They had a 1,000-yard rusher last year, held together with sticks and glue in that running back room. They're a physical football team because Steve Sarkisian has built the roster that way. So I understand now it's never ideal to miss on a 5-star recruit, but wasn't this the situation you were in a year ago last 4th of July? DeCorian Moore. Hey, kid from the state of Texas, decommits from LSU. Texas feels like they could be in good spot here. 4th of July happens. You land him over in Eugene for the Ducks. Goes to Oregon. What happened the rest of that cycle? Texas finished with the top class in America. So it's a game of runs. It's a game of battles. But at the end of the day, I would be shocked if we saw Texas finish outside the top 10. Why? Because Steve Sarkisian has proven he doesn't really do that. Since he's gotten to Texas, they've had several top 10 classes, several top 3 classes. Okay, so they're going to be in good shape. There's a long way till National Signing Day, and this is not me dismissing missing on Felix Ojo, but I'm just saying I think Steve Sarkisian has earned all the trust to say, okay, as long as he's our head coach, based on how he's built our roster, what it was before to what it was now that he's been the guy running the show for a couple of years, we can trust him to be a good roster builder, not just a good play caller, not just a quarterback guru. He's a good roster builder. If there is holes in our roster, he will address it via the portal. If we are not in a good spot depth-wise at a certain position, he will make sure that he addresses that on the recruiting trail and gets us the Jimmies and Joes we need to have. So I understand it's not ideal to miss on a 5-star recruit, but for Texas, man, I wouldn't get too worried or too worked up just yet. Now, Notre Dame also had a massive win on the recruiting trail over the holiday weekend. Landon Devin Fitzgerald, son of Larry Fitzgerald. And I'll tell you what, dude, I look at the recruiting class for Notre Dame, I look at the roster for Notre Dame, and it's just first-team all depression for me. It just bums me out, bro. Because I look at all these last names, and I'm like, dude, I just had Larry Fitzgerald on my fantasy team like yesterday. Like, I was just watching Plaxico Burress catch game-winning touchdowns in the Super Bowl over the undefeated New England Patriots for Cato's G-Men. Like, I was just watching that, and now we got Elijah Burris running routes as a true freshman in the spring game for C.J. Carr and company. Like, it's wild. It's very, very wild to me, but I do think the number of NFL players that send their sons to go play for Marcus Freeman, very telling. Very, very telling. I gave you a couple names just there. Devin Fitzgerald, son of Larry Fitzgerald. Thomas Davis Jr., give you one guess who his dad is. Also worth noting, his dad went to Georgia. Larry Fitzgerald went to Pitt. Elijah Burris, his dad Plaxico, went to Michigan State. Jordan Clark last year, who's a ball hawk at safety for them, was all over the field. Ryan Clark, his dad went to LSU. Like, these aren't just alums that are sending their kids to go play for their school. These are dudes that played in the league at a high level who are sending their kid to go play for Marcus Freeman, being trusted with the development of their kid to Notre Dame. Okay, so I think there's a couple of layers to this. One is, and Marcus Freeman said this when he came on the show with us, you understand the kind of degree you're getting if you go to Notre Dame. And these are guys that have played in the NFL and understand that football ends for everybody. And if you have a Notre Dame degree and a Notre Dame network, you're probably going to be in good shape, dude. Just like, doesn't matter how many passes you caught when you were in South Bend or how many Super Bowls you won, Notre Dame degree is going to help you out. So that's the first part of this. But it's paired with the fact that if you go to Notre Dame and play for Marcus Freeman, you're not sacrificing the football side of things. Think about this for a second. Every parent, to some degree, is involved in their kids' recruitment, whether it be asking questions about academics, asking questions about playing time. Like every parent, every good parent, I should say, is somewhat involved. Think about the questions that Plaxico Burress is asking Marcus Freeman when Elijah Burris is getting set to commit. Think about the questions that Larry Fitzgerald is asking Marcus Freeman. I promise you, they're more in-depth, more intense football questions than Johnny Four-Star's quarterback dad. I'm just telling you, they're probably asking questions about nutrition, asking questions about development, asking questions about the weight room. Like, these questions, I promise, are very, very in-depth. And for them to still say, no, we want you to go play for Marcus Freeman, tells me everything I need to know. Everything I need to know about the trust they have in the way he's running his football program. So the fact that you don't have to sacrifice the football side with the academic side makes Notre Dame, to me, a no-brainer for these guys. I mean, development-wise, you just had 13 players drafted in the last 2 years under Marcus Freeman. They just played for a national championship. So Marcus Freeman, I think, is no longer, this is the most important part here, he's no longer having to sell this vision of what Notre Dame can be. Because every school worth their salt pitches the idea of life after football as well as a good football experience. Everyone. Doesn't matter if it's Stanford, doesn't matter if it's some other school that's not as quite as academically prestigious as Stanford, which I won't mention, but like, you hear what I'm saying. Everyone pitches both sides. And Notre Dame's, after football side, no one's questioning that. But to be able to say, no, come here, we just beat Georgia. No, come here, we just played Ohio State in the national championship game close in the fourth quarter. It's not this vision of we could eventually be here. It's no, we're doing great things right now. Come be a part of it. And to give that kind of ammo to Marcus Freeman, who I think is just, quite frankly, authentic and real and genuine, and that connects on the recruiting trail in addition to everything else that Notre Dame has to offer, Notre Dame is going to be a powerhouse in college football as long as he's your head coach. Full stop. So the pedigree is one part of this that I think is very telling as to where Notre Dame football is right now with Marcus Freeman running the show. All right. Alabama. What are the must-haves for them here in 2025? New segment we're going to do here for a couple of different teams leading up to the college football season. I want to talk about what these teams must have on offense, on defense, and then we'll do a quick culture observation. Can't speak too authoritatively on culture because we're not in the building, but just kind of the vibe we're getting talking to people and just overall coming out of last season and the way people in that building are talking about their own football team to the media. So before we do that, though, Alabama fans, make sure you are subscribed. If you want more Crimson Tide content, the best way to let us know that is by subscribing to the channel, and pretty much creates the demand for us to supply for. So appreciate y'all being locked in. Thinking about the must-haves for Alabama on offense. You can go a lot of different ways. I think it really just comes down to reliability at quarterback. Notice what I said. Not better at quarterback, not a better star at quarterback or more star power at quarterback. I'm talking reliability because Jalen Milroe, for all of his faults last year, which we have highlighted many, he was not straight up a bad quarterback. He was just inconsistent. I never knew if I was watching a Bama game, are we going to see Jalen Milroe from the first half of the Georgia game where he looks like a Heisman Trophy winner? Or are we going to see Jalen Milroe that played against Oklahoma where he just give the football away to the other team like it's Christmas Day? Are we getting that Jalen Milroe? And the tough part, if you're Kalen DeBoer trying to game plan your offense, you're like, I don't know either. So for Ty Simpson, the task isn't be better than Jalen Milroe. The task is be consistent, be reliable. If you're going to be a B- quarterback, okay, that's fine. But just be a B- every single week so we know how to call the game for you. So we know to dial up extra run plays or to dial up different kind of quick game or whatever it looks like. We can work with reliable if we're Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb. I promise you. They've done that before and they will work with that. Now defensively, kind of to go hand in hand with what they have on offense, I think for Alabama, the must-have is vintage Alabama pass rush. Notice vintage, not good. I'm talking vintage. I'm talking like you drop the film on any given game week on a Tuesday getting ready to prep for Bama, and you say, oh boy, I have to add an extra back here to help out on a LT Overton. Oh, we got to, hey, they can get pressure with 4. We're going to have to make sure we're on our P's and Q's here. If your defensive line can take over, you win. Like Ohio State, when did they become the Avengers? Got the ball to Jeremiah Smith. Yeah, that's why they won the national championship in some sense for sure. But look at the final numbers. Ohio State had the number 1 sack rate in America because in the college football playoff, they turned it on. Okay? And you're saying, well, JD, that's kind of asking a lot of Alabama, right? To look like vintage Bama, Saban's Bama on the defensive line, isn't it? Yeah, it is. But aren't you asking a lot too as a fan? You want a national championship, right? This is what it's going to take. Because those vintage Bama teams, it didn't matter who was playing quarterback, bro. I mean, you could bank on the haircut. That was about it. Every single guy had the Bama banks. Jacob Coker, A.J. McCarron, didn't matter. If you had a vintage defensive line to go with those Bama bangs at quarterback, you were going to be in good shape. Ty Simpson, no different. You know the haircut? Defensive line, if they are taking over the game, then you can give him some progress or some room to progress, I should say, as the season wears on. So this is not me dismissing Ty Simpson. This is me telling you, as the season wears on, if a defensive line is going to be your calling card all year long for Bama, you're going to give Ty Simpson a chance then to grow into the quarterback you need him to be. And if he's consistent, then you're already in a good spot from there. So now the culture part is interesting. We haven't seen it yet, but what my gut is saying is that the culture is in a settled spot. All right? Like, I think that last year was kind of a feeling out process for everyone involved, staff and players, but especially players. You were committed to Nick Saban. So when you stuck around with Kalen DeBoer, yeah, you committed to DeBoer to a sense. I think for the most part, though, last year you were really committed to Alabama and that logo and what it had been. If you're still there, though, you are all the way bottom to Kalen DeBoer's way of doing things. You are all the way bottom to that staff. And so I think what that's going to mean for Alabama now is everyone on the same page. when you're on the same page, good things happen, right? There's no way to say that differently. And last year when Alabama lost games, 2 out of the 3 that we're looking at, outside of the bowl game, I guess is your third, Bama just was clearly not on the same page. Culturally, I mean, X's and O's is another conversation, but like you should never lose to Vandy. You should never lose to that Oklahoma team. Never lose to that Michigan team where they're throwing for double-digit yards. You can't even win that football game to salvage some pride. Like, I think now you've washed all that out of your system and everyone on the same page, same mission, extra chip on the shoulder. I think that's a good thing for Bama. So those are the must-haves for me for Alabama here in 2025, and I'm excited to see what they are here because I think it's going to be very, very intriguing for the rest of the college football world. All right, last thing here on the agenda. What's Florida State's record going to be here in 2025? The over-under in Vegas set at 7.5. All right, now, if you're a Florida State fan, after 2 wins last year, you're like, hey, we'll take 7. Let's rock. We'll take 8. It doesn't matter. An improvement from 2 wins to 7 wins would be great. Where are they going to be, though, in 2025? We'll unpack it together. If you're a Florida State fan, really quickly, make sure you're subscribed. Big game week 1. We'll have our full game breakdown for you for that game here when it gets closer. But if you want us to talk about your Noles, the best way to let us know that is by being subscribed. Goes for any and all fan bases that we do content around. Offensively, I said it before, you're just in a more steady place. And this is going to sound very tongue-in-cheek, so I hesitate to say it this way, but like, can it really get worse? You know what I mean? And that's somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but also somewhat just real. Averaging 13 points a game. Can't get worse. I love the changes you made, though. Gus Malzahn comes into your offense, steady hands. Done it for a long time, done it at a high level. I trust him to run the show. Works well with Mike Norvell. Personality-wise, I think Tommy Castellanos is exactly what you needed. Like, he's a little bit crazy, calling out Alabama with Pete Nakos. More power to the guy. Because, you know what? At least he's got a pulse, got some competitive fire, which is more than I could say for anyone at Florida State a year ago. All right? So I like that addition. It will be very feast or famine for you offensively, though. If Tommy C is not working out, we're going to know early. Like, if we can't run the football with him at quarterback, it's not going to become a four verts kind of offense. There's no pivot there. It's going to be hey, Tommy Castellanos, we got to go somewhere else at quarterback, and we'll kind of reinvent the wheel here a little bit. I like the playmakers and the Squirrel White and Deuce Robinson, like I've said before, but if it works, it's going to work big. If it works, you saw what Boston College was in that game against you early on last season, it'll be a lot of that. Tommy Castellanos carving you up with his legs, creates plays downfield in the pass game. That's a world that you can work with, a world you'd like to live in if you're Florida State. Defensively, I told y'all, man, I think Tony White's going to get them right, but I have just 2 major thoughts on defense for Florida State. Similar to the offense. It can't get too much worse, but maybe more specifically, you can't convince me the personnel is actually as bad as their numbers indicate a year ago. You can't. Because I think there's a lot of guys on that defense that can actually play at a high level. Darrell Jackson being one of them. Shaheem Brown being another one of them. The second thought is, how much better could they be with an actual offense to give them a chance to grab some freaking Powerade or Gatorade or grab a towel and look at the previous drive without having to be back on the field? Last year, Florida State, 132nd in America on third down as an offense. 26%. Translation, defense, you got 3 plays. Whether you just got scored on or you got to stop. You got 3 plays until it's, hey, punt team's out there, punt return team's out there, or punt team out there, I should say. You're back up in a matter of moments here. That's a lot of snaps, dude. That wears on you. Kato would tell you, that wears on you, man. So I think that overall, offensively, could complement the defense and set them up to just be better overall. So going through the schedule, we'll go game by game here, give you our prediction, which is subject to change the week of, so we're on the same page. But here's how I see the whole thing shaking out. Week 1, you host Bama. Listen, man, I love Tommy C talking his cash. I hope that they look like a respectable outfit offensively and kind of show some fight there. I think you lose that game. However, you play Texas A&M the next week. East Texas A&M. Get your anger out and kind of get back on the right side of things. That's a win. You play Kent State. I think this is the year we see Florida State win the games that they are maybe supposed to win, at least against the Kent State. So off a bye, they beat Kent State. At Virginia, culture test here. Culture test. Friday night on the road. It's not Bama. Do you get up for games like this? If you do, it says volumes as to the work they've done on that culture from last year to this year. I think you win that game. All right, now you play Miami. I just think Miami is going to be a little bit further along than you offensively, and I think that ends up being the difference there. I think you lose that game. I also think that what Pitt is working with right now is very quietly going to be pretty dynamic offensively as well, with Cade Bell running the show offensively for them as the coordinator. I think that you lose to them. I think you get a win at Stanford. Now, this win at Stanford better be a win. Going across the country after 2 losses. No idea what time that game's at, but you're traveling from coast to coast, which is just the ACC right now, the All-Coast Conference. Has to be a win. I think it is a win. Off a bye, you play Wake Forest. Same deal. I think that's a win. You play them at home. It's homecoming. Good vibes. And you get a win against them. You go to Clemson. I think you lose that game. We'll circle back on that in a second. You beat Va Tech. Massive. You get a win at NC State. You lose at Florida. Now hear me clearly. This is 7-5. Say, JD, 7-5, it's the under. I know it's the under, but guess what? It's better than 2 wins. And that's the whole thing we got to talk about with Florida State. If you're a Florida State fan, your expectations long-term don't have to change. Expectations should be get back to the ACC title game, find a way to get back into the college football playoff conversation. Not this year. This year is about getting back to neutral. This year is about getting our legs back underneath us. Okay, 7-5, that's a good season. That's not me trying to gaslight you. That's just the reality after what last year was, the abomination that you and I both agree it was. It's about resetting, getting back to neutral. 7-5 to me is neutral. Now I mentioned, we'll get back to the Clemson game here. I am really, really intrigued to see how Florida State looks against the big dogs. Not so much the need to, beat Clemson or to beat Alabama. If you do, great. But how do you look relative to just belonging on that field with them? And it sounds kind of harsh. It's weird to say out loud about Florida State a couple of years removed from them being undefeated during the regular season. But just how far off are we from competing with the Clemsons of the world when we're on the road late in the year? How far off are we when we play Bama week 1? How far off are we when we play even Miami? And Miami's started to, I think, trend in a positive direction as well when it comes to what they've done acquiring talent and what Mark Cristobal has built out there. So for Florida State, 7-5 is a good year. I think that's what they go. Over doesn't hit, but I think you get back to neutral and start talking about more exciting things here for the 2026 season. All right. Hey, appreciate y'all being dialed in, man. Got a lot to get to here the rest of the week. All right. We have Stack Show, Nebraska record prediction coming next week. Some more Miami talk, or not next week, next show. Some more Miami talk coming on Thursday. But, man, appreciate y'all making this show what it is. We love y'all, man. For Kane Smith on the 1s and 2s, we're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time.